Okay, today's episode is known as Squad. So we're talking about the Truth Squad, and well, I don't know. It looks like Cheech and Chong. They're looking at you, laughing at you, and you think you know the truth. Who knows the truth? It's a scary, frightening thing. The truth make you laugh. Okay, so what do we want to talk about when it comes to truth today? Mostly, we don't have a clue what's true and what's not these days. When people ask me a question, um, I have a hard time answering it because facts seem so hard to come by. That is, facts that you actually know and not just third hand, second hand things passed down to you. So, I give you a hypothetical. If this fact and this fact is true, then this is what I think. And that's about as far as I go. Now, how can you run a world when people don't know what the facts are? Well, most people just go with what they think the facts are, and that leads to horrible mistakes. What kind of mistakes? Well, just mistakes. Have we had any examples of mistakes made because people don't know the truth? The real truth? Yes. The world history is full of people who thought they knew the truth and ended up getting in big hot water. What other options are there? Well, I don't recommend that you smoke a lot of weed and be like those guys. That's not going to give you truth. I might sit here for half an hour trying to figure out a good answer. Why don't we know if these second-hand, third-hand truths are real or not? Well, there's just so many people that are questioning things these days. And that's about all I got for the truth. What truth should you use in your own life? Well, I imagine you should try and figure it out. Is this fact a real fact? If this fact is wrong, would my opinion change on the subject? Where did this so-called fact come from? Was it just cooked up? I don't know. Okay, this is Marge Simpson from The Simpsons, and we're trying to figure out what she would have to say about today's topic, which is, what is the truth? I don't know. What do you think she says? She's got these bulging eyes and this big smile. The longer you look at her, the more you figure, I don't think she knows the truth, but she's kind of afraid for whatever truths are being submitted to her as being truths, facts that are supposed to be facts. And, well, she just goes along to get along. She complains here and there. What can we learn from Marge Simpson as to how to deal with truth? There you have it. Our today's interview with Marge Simpson. Okay, the next hat here is it's a beer hat from On Golden Pond. That was an old movie by Henry Fonda and his family. That's a fact. What do we want to know about facts? Well, we're trying to decide whether we're going to accept second-hand, third-hand facts as being real. Well, I mean, if you're watching the television and they give you video, does that mean the thing's real? Well, maybe it's the whole context that gets buried under certain news. What's the whole context? What's the biggest picture you can get? And when you've just got a small picture I don't think you can actually get the big picture from the small picture. Can I give you an example? What do we see on TV these days? A lot of stories about war. Do we know why these wars are being fought? What is the root cause of the wars? Well, some people on the news tell you, well, that they're terrorists. What causes someone to be a terrorist? Are they born a terrorist? What makes a person to become a terrorist? When does an organization of terrorists get together? What causes an organization of people to become terrorists? How come we don't have any idea? Some people say, well, it's their religion to be terrorists. There's an old saying that warfare is an extension of politics. So if that's the case, then a lot of these wars are an extension of what the political situation is. What is politics? Politics is getting what you want. How do you know what you want? Based upon your so-called facts. Where do you get your facts from? Are they truth? Or they just conveniently fit into your dilemma? And the dilemma is, well, this is what I think is what's going on, and this is what I think I want, and these are the so-called facts that fit the situation. Now, if Henry Fonda was still with us, what would he have to say, the great actor? He would want you to give the truth. He would try and present the truth from the perspective of his character. Perspective of this character that I've got here, some guy drinking beer out on the lake. Maybe he's fishing, pretending to fish. What has he got to say about all these things? The politics. Well, you might want to go way back to ancient Greece, Plato and Aristotle, to get a good idea about what the politics is all about. Is that going to help you out? No, mostly what we want to do is cut through the clutter. Do these wars have a real direct effect on us? Well, yeah, they do. And you turn on the television and then it's always a horrible, horrible. And you wonder, well, why is it that we don't have a new tomorrow where we don't have any wars? It seems like human history is full of nothing but war. Nothing but horrible, horrible. Horrible, 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 horrible. Does that mean that the politics underlying the terrorism and the wars, is there something wrong with it? Chasing scarce resources? People trying to make a point? Sometimes we hear about megalomania, great leaders that are just enormous egos that simply have a cult of personality, a lot of buzzwords. What can we do about it? Well, it just tends to be a real Debbie Downer. And that's what the news is. It's always the worst part of the world and the worst accidents, the worst warfare, the worst terrorism. And those are what we're given every day as what the news is. There's a lot more news that doesn't get reported. Maybe it's good news, maybe it's not so good news, but it doesn't get directly to us. I don't have a conclusion statement. I've given you a lot to ponder. This hat is Hertz Rent-A-Car. Well, I guess it's equipment rentals. Hertz means frequency, and usually has to do with, like electricity, the frequency of your electrical current. Other things that we talk about the frequency is, what else can we talk about when it comes to frequency that's not got to do with electromagnetic spectrum? What frequency are people on? We can use the scale of human consciousness to determine where people are at, given to us by Dr. David R. Hawkins, an American psychiatrist. At the bottom of the scale are things like grief and anger. At the top of the scale are things like love and peace. What frequency are we on? Well, if our news gave us news that was of benefit to us, perhaps they would give us news of love and peace and enlightenment. Why does our frequency always seem to be on horrible, at the bottom of the scale of human consciousness? Does that mean that that's where humans are all the time? At the bottom of the scale where there's nothing but horrible? I don't think so. People I know aren't in horrible all the time, except when the news is on and people get terribly depressed. What do you want to talk about? Well, you can talk about the news, but wouldn't it be better to talk about your own personal news? It's a lot better. What's your frequency today? Try and set your frequency at a high level. Peace and love and enlightenment is where we're aiming for. Try and catch yourself if you get drifting off into talking about horrible terrorism, warfare, murder, horrible accidents. This hat is a Yoshi, a cartoon character. He looks like a dinosaur, a little mini one. What can we learn from Yoshi? Well, he's got a smile on his face. He's got his dukes up. He's ready to go and meet the world. Don't bother me, I'm too cute. Does anybody think I'm too cute?